My goodness, so many things are happening in the world of true crime right now. We've got so many things going on. We got the Banfield trial going on. We've got the Nick Reiner affair going on. We're still waiting to hear what's going on with Celeste Rivas. We're in the great pause there. But what we are hearing new news on right now is in the Monique and Spencer Tepe case. There is quite a bit that has happened while we were covering the break in the Ellen Greenberg story. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for joining wherever you're joining from. And I have noticed that in the chat, you guys are already telling me where you're joining from, which makes me just happy. I don't know. I just love knowing where you are. We got Denmark in the house. We got Wales in the house, Maine, San Jose, California, North Carolina, the Inner Banks, Marietta, Georgia, Northeast Kentucky, Jacksonville, Florida, Kentucky. So many people already checking in. Colorado, Northern Indiana, Oregon, Austin, Texas, Alabama. Thank you very much for checking in. Please tell me where you are joining from. England, Apple Valley, California, Murraysville, PA. Outside of Wilmington, North Carolina, the Bay Area of Northern California, Bedford, PA, Southeast Missouri. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Today, we are talking about the murders of Dr. Spencer and Monique Tepe, the 37 and 39-year-old couple who were murdered in their home with their two children in the home with them, ages 4 and 1. And boy, is this a case that has touched a nerve in all of us, not only because just the tragedy of lives lost. Oh, my phone is ringing, but also because it appears that this is DV related, and I hate DV. You hate DV. It is far too ubiquitous in our society, and I think that there were red flags in this case. There were red flags. Now, that does not mean that the victims are to blame on any of this. They are not. The person who is to blame, at least according to police, is Michael McKee, the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. And we're going to get a little bit into tonight what family members are saying and what others are saying about the scary relationship that Monique had with Mr. McKee. And it started during their very short marriage. It's just, yeah, beyond the pale. Let's bring up the Tepes once again. We have got Orlando tuning in. We've got Bucks County, Pennsylvania, East Frisia from northern Germany, Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, London, Ontario, Canada. We got several people from Kentucky in here, Lakeland, Florida. We got Tallahassee. So many. Thanks, guys, for checking in. All right. What I want to start out with tonight is actually a press conference that was held yesterday while we were talking about the amazing news in the Ellen Greenberg case. More was happening on this case. This press conference was held, let's see, I push the right button here. Yesterday, it was live streamed on the City of Columbus's Facebook page. This is the chief of police. It's about a 12-minute press conference. Now, as always, I can't control. I did bump up the audio a little bit, so it might be a little compressed. It might be a little loud. So maybe check your headphones, check your earbuds, so that I don't blare your ears out here. Let's go ahead and start to see what the chief has to say, or had to say, yesterday. Here we go.
Wanted to be able to bring you back because we let you know that when we have information, we'd like to bring you back and talk about it. So just wanted to go over a little bit of the timeline. On December 30th, 2025, at approximately 10:04 a.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers were dispatched to the 1400 block of North 4th Street on a well-being check. Officers arrived at scene and located the 2 adult victims suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. We now know that they were identified as Mr. Spencer Tepe and Mrs. Monique Tepe. Their 2 small children were also found in the residence, physically unharmed. On January 10th, 2026, detectives filed warrants charging Michael D. McKee, 39, with 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Spencer and Monique Tepe. Mr. McKee was arrested in Rockford, Illinois without incident. He's currently incarcerated in the Winnebago County Jail and awaiting extradition to Columbus.
Hey, I know in the video, the audio and the video aren't perfectly synced. I know that kind of can be distracting, but that's how the video is received.
We believe at this point we have the person responsible for the murders of Monique and Spencer Tepe in custody, and that person is Michael McKee. This is still an active and ongoing investigation. Detectives are still going through evidence, tips, and videos. We can't speak to all the specific details related to this case, so we don't want to jeopardize the ultimate goal of conviction. But what we can say, this was a targeted attack. This was a domestic violence related attack. As we know, McKee is the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link
I am curious how they know when the murders happened. Now, some of you have speculated, and I think brilliantly so, that it could have been maybe they were wearing a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or some sort of watch that monitors heart rate. So it could be something like that. It could be surveillance or security footage that captured the gunshots. Could be neighbors knew when it happened, something like that. But I'm curious. I will be curious to find out how they know that 3:52 a.m. time.
this vehicle to McKee. The vehicle was located in Rockford, Illinois, and evidence was found that showed McKee in possession of the vehicle before and after the homicides. We can also say that multiple weapons were taken from the property of McKee, and there is a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides. I want to say that our detectives work around the clock to be able to solve this case, but it's equally important to know that while this is gaining national attention, we work around the clock to solve all of our homicide cases. I'd like to bring the mayor up now to have him say a few words.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for joining us this morning. I want to thank Chief Bryant, the women and men of the Homicide Division who have done an incredible job on this case and so many other cases, 100 cases solved in 2025 because of their tireless work and professionalism and tips and information from the community that helped us achieve such incredible solve rates. I want to thank also members of the press for sharing timely information, including the video footage of the person of interest that we know now is Mr. McKee. Members of the community for supporting CPD's investigation and for continuing to pray and support the Tepe family, particularly these little children. Just want to
Real quick, I just looked it up. Columbus police reported their solve rate for 2025 was closing around 83% of the 84 homicides in the year by solving 70 cases. Plus, they cleared dozens of older and cold cases. So when he says 100 cases, that's what he's talking about. It is an extremely high clear rate, or solve rate. Columbus PD is doing very good work out there.
A moment to express gratitude, grief, and resolve, not only for myself, but for the entire Columbus community. Grateful to the Division of Police for their professionalism and persistence, and for their tireless work and collaboration that led to this arrest. You followed the facts and evaluated every credible lead with intentionality, integrity, and care for the victims and their families. I also want to thank members of the community who stepped forward with video footage and tips. Like so many cases CPD solved in 2025, the public helped us work this case.
That is terrific and special. I mean, we had wondered how many videos were out there. We only saw the one video that they released, but that does not mean that's the only video they had. And according to Mayor Ginther there, he said, thanks to the public for supplying those. They had put out a QR code and a link for anybody to upload video. They didn't have to go out and get, knock on doors and so forth. They used technology to just say, hey, if you have something, put it here. And that might mean that they miss on some things, but it made it so easy for the public to help. I don't know. I love it when I see police forces working well with the public and communicating well. The police chief there, I forgot her name already. Columbus, Ohio police chief. Her name is Elaine Bryant. So Chief Bryant, she went on television and did interviews, and she was very careful to say, hey, I'm not going to give you all the information, but she said why? Because I want there to be a successful prosecution here, and I'm worried that if we put out too much, we will jeopardize that. But what I can say, and so she communicated very, very well with the public. Those of us, I live close to Ohio, but I'm not a citizen there. But so many of us around the world, on this live stream tonight, we got Germany, Denmark, Great Britain, Canada. We probably have Brazil. I haven't checked on that one, but Australia, we're all over the world. We're interested in this case, and they have done what I think is a terrific job in communicating well with the public to ensure that they catch the right guy. So kudos to them. And kudos to the public, right, for caring and sending in those tips.
It's a clear example of how public safety is strongest when police and community are working together.
Amen. Preach.
I'm encouraged by the cooperation that continues to grow between our police and our residents. I pray this collaboration will help us prevent violent crime from happening in the first place, but it's also a powerful, powerful tool for solving crime when it does occur. The tips that were submitted in this case mattered, and I'm grateful to the residents and businesses who shared information. As Chief described, this was a targeted domestic violence attack that resulted in the deaths of 2 people and irreparably changed the lives of their children, families, colleagues, and friends. Our hearts remain with Spencer and Monique, their loved ones, and especially the children impacted by this unimaginable loss. As this case now moves through the criminal justice process, we'll continue to respect this investigation and allow investigators and prosecutors to do their work. As Chief said, we will not do or say anything that will compromise the likelihood of a conviction. One thing we can still offer this family is the best possible chance at a conviction and justice for this unspeakable crime. We could also continue to lift up this family in our thoughts and prayers. I will continue to lift up every one of the 84 families that lost a loved one due to violence in 2025. And I know the Chief and the Division of Police will too, in their thoughts and their actions. I know this case has taken on national interest, but I want to tell each of these families, these 84 families, CPD pursues every case with the same intensity, commitment, and resolve. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, sir. We'll take any questions at this time.
Chief, can you comment on a motive in this case? I mean, why did he allegedly kill Monique and Spencer and also leave the children alive?
At this time, we cannot comment on the motive. Again, part of the investigation.
Did you find any?
That makes me wonder, do they know what the motive is and they're just not commenting on it? Or do they have any, maybe they just don't have any idea what the motive is?
Any other evidence in his home in Lincoln Park?
What I can tell you is that we did search his property and we have evidence, but I can't speak to any specific evidence.
You said there were no signs.
Can you tell us which police agency arrested him and where he was taken into custody in Rockford?
Sure. This case is a great example of partnerships. So our partners with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, federal agents, took him into custody very
Feds.
close to his place of employment.
The ATF took him into custody. They brought in the feds for this. Awesome.
Tell us about McKee's whereabouts between the day of the crime and the day he was picked up.
Part of the investigation, unfortunately, as we talked about, we're not able to share specifics, but what we can tell you is that we have evidence that he was there during the time of the actual homicides.
You said there were no signs of forced entry. Are you able to say any more about how he got into the house?
Unfortunately, we're not able to talk about that at this moment.
Is there any indication he had interactions with the kids, or the kids may have seen or heard anything at this point?
We don't have that information. Again, part of the investigation, there's just certain things we can't talk about.
Well, do they not have the information, or they just don't want to talk about it? I probably the latter, right? And good for them for protecting the investigation. I as you guys know, I am I would rather err on transparency. Oops, my sleeve in there. I would rather err on the side of transparency. However, I agree with the chief on this one. We've got an arrest. They believe they've got the right guy, and we don't want to jeopardize the success of the prosecution.
Had said that they had seen McKee in the neighborhood and in front of the Tepe home days before the homicide. Can you confirm that?
At this time, we're unable to talk about specific information, but again, when we get additional information, we'll be more happy to share it to the public.
I know this is ongoing investigation. I don't know if you can say this, but obviously they were divorced. Are you able to say anything about their relationship after that divorce? It was in 2017. Were they civil? I know he had a second wife as well.
Again, there is, the investigation is still ongoing. Just understand, we're still collecting information. We're still going through a lot of evidence, and there's just some things that we can't speak to right now.
Can you talk about the extradition? Will you be going to Rockford and pick him up, and when will that happen?
I'll let you speak to that.
Sure. We have policy related to extraditions. Felony warrants out of state are primarily handled by extradition companies, and so the determination of whether or not it will be detectives from Columbus or an outside entity, likely an outside entity, but the logistics are being worked out as we speak.
There are extradition companies? Has anybody ever heard that before? There are extradition companies? So when he's extradited, there will be a company contracted to go and pick him up? Wow.
When that will happen?
I don't know when that will happen.
What kind of weapons did you find in his home?
We can't speak to specific weapons, but we did recover multiple weapons from the home, from his property.
How quickly was McKee a suspect? I know that family told us they pretty much assumed that it was that he was behind this crime.
What I can tell you is that every piece of evidence, every tip that we received, we immediately began to investigate it. So I can't give you a specific timeline, but any information that came in was immediately evaluated and investigated.
Are you able to say about how many tips you received? Obviously, people became really attached to this case.
Do you know specific numbers?
While we don't have it an exact number of the amount of tips that came in because some of them were the same or similar. So it was numerous, and it was from multiple sources, which was greatly appreciated from the community, the media, the past individuals that were knowledgeable and familiar with the family, and then the residents of the area, which ultimately led us to this day right now.
We know
Do you believe
digital
that's him in
forensics
that
play
video? Sorry, go ahead.
we know digital forensics and DNA play a big role in investigations these days, but it doesn't happen in 60 minutes with commercial breaks. Is there any sense of the timeline of when some of that information will become available to you guys through that testing?
We're continuously looking for information, waiting for information. Unfortunately, we can't give you a specific timeline, but we're continuously working to get that information in.
The family mentioned that Monique previously said that.
That was a terrific question. What's it going to look like as far as when are you going to be able to get digital forensics in? In my experience, by the way, large companies, cell phone companies, data brokers, data providers, they are very, very quick to respond to subpoenas. I've seen it as quickly as same day from companies like Google, Apple, things like that. But I would imagine that a lot of that digital forensics is going to take probably weeks to come in. Now, if they have his cell phone, then the question is it unlocked? Do they have actual access to it? Because he may have to turn over his cell phone, but he does not have to unlock it. And if he's got a modern smartphone and he's got relatively good security on it, they may or may not be able to get into it. Cellbrite dumps for a modern phone that's like a terabyte of data could take a couple of days to download.
He had been abusive towards her in the past. Was there any evidence or indication of that prior to this incident?
What I can tell you is that we did not have any reports, or we did not have any information related to any type of incidents regarding the ex-husband and Monique.
Can you tell us if McKee and Mrs. Tepe had any contact leading up to this incident, months, weeks?
Any stalking concerns there?
Again, what we can share with you, we are sharing with you. There are some things that we can't share for investigative purposes, but what I can tell you again is that we didn't have any reports or anything linked to that specific location as it relates to the ex-husband and Monique Tepe.
Do you believe he's the person in the video that you shared, the person of interest?
We do.
Okay.
The question there was the person in the video, the person of interest. Do you believe that is Mr. McKee? She said, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That is the end of that. Let's bring up the Tepes here, and we will go over to your comments. I love reading your comments. Just remember to put GF in the comments so that I can see it. Let's see. The Meg 27 says they could know the time because when you unlock a smart lock in the app, it tells you what time it was unlocked. That is if he knew the code. Yeah. Excellent. Man, we've got some good citizen detectives here. Yeah, it could be something like that where the logging of the door opening, it may not just log when it was unlocked, but if it's been opened, like open from the inside without using the keypad or something like that. You're right. Very good. Yarn Chicken Kim says basically something similar. They had smart locks on their doors. Perhaps the time of death was also determined based on when the door was breached. If it was, at least the time McKee was there may have been narrowed down. Yeah, very, very good. Good job. Hello from Scotland, Polly. Glad you're here. Robin says the guy was basically not able to be found about a month before he committed the crime. Yeah, and I had read that he kind of had been trying to evade being served on a medical malpractice suit too. The guy was in hiding. I think maybe his life was just kind of falling apart. Liz Karen says, can this be classified as premeditation due to the length of the journey alone? Yeah, I think that will be presented by prosecution, right? Because one of the elements of murder, like murder one, is premeditation. Now, you guys know, because you guys are awesome, that premeditation doesn't have to happen over a long period of time. There's no minimum time for premeditation. It could be in the moment when they decide, I'm going to do this. But in this case, where he traveled long and far, and the belief, well, I guess this is more rumor. It hasn't been confirmed by police, but neighbors have said that they had seen him in the neighborhood. So yeah, not only, I think that's going to be one of the elements where they're going to be able to say, yeah, he drove here for this. He planned it out. He figured out when he was going to do it. I'm sure another component of that element will be how he got into the residence without there being sign of forced entry, right? He planned it, got the code, or used. Guys, don't use those kind of smart locks that can be easily overcome just by using like neodymium magnets. Everybody should watch Lockpicking Lawyer. They're like 3-minute videos whenever they come out. Watch Lockpicking Lawyer, because so many of those smart locks are just trash. But anyway, I think that they'll be able to use multiple components to prove that he planned it, that this was premeditated. Now, they're also going to have to prove consciousness of guilt, right? Well, I don't know that they must prove that, but I think it is, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, they use that to prove premeditated homicide. So what were his actions later? Did he change license plates? Did he change the direction of travel? Did he change his behaviors? Is he aware that he did something wrong? All right, speaking of like Nick Reiner, is he aware? I hadn't heard that he had a second wife either, Polly. And somebody else saying he did not have a second wife. So yeah, looks like that has been corrected. Okay. He does have outstanding cases in Nevada, and I think that might be related to the civil case, to the medical malpractice case. Sandy says, thanks for cutting my hair. I have not cut my hair. I have it back in a ponytail. I think I'm going to have to keep... Guys, I trimmed my hair because I couldn't take it anymore. It was all like split ends and bad on the end, and so that added months onto having to grow it out. Yep, wearing a ponytail. Mermaid Mary RN says, Gavin, people wondering how he could get code to house. With his sharp intellect, he could have hacked into their keyless entry app and unlocked himself. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's possible. And I can't tell you how many people, and it's not just our beloved senior citizens, like where you would expect it. I just can't tell you how many people I know that don't have real security on their digital devices. They don't have it. If you should be using passkeys, you should be using authenticator apps, you should be using, two-factor authentication on everything. If she just had something, a password that she'd been using forever since they were married and he knew it, he could have logged into her Gmail or something. There's lots of different ways that a person can get into another person's account. So, and I mean, you're probably asking yourself, why, like, what expertise do you have in this, Gavin? This very day, just today, I helped a family get into the digital account of their loved one who's been passed away for several years. And it took me all of about 20 minutes. So yeah, lock these things down, guys. Have two-factor authentication. Use passwords that are hard to guess. Change your passwords frequently. Use Authenticator on your apps. Use passcodes. Don't Don't let people in. And I'm not saying that Monique did this. I'm saying, I mean, there's so many possibilities for a person that has just the basic level of technical expertise. So yeah, it's possible that he got into her, her account and added another email in order to get access to the app itself. He could get in. Yeah, they're just, and those most smart like keypad entries that you buy on the regular market are really unsecure anyway. Like if you just go to Amazon and buy a neodymium magnet, you can defeat those, because what they use. What is that little device called? Well, I can't remember the name of the device right now, but they use basically a switch inside them that lock and unlock, and it's electric, right? So if it's got negative polarity, it'll go one way. If it's got positive polarity, it'll go the other way. And in order to move those, they use electromagnets in them. So you can defeat them by just putting a very powerful magnet in the right spot, and it's open. So yeah, if you're going to use smart locks, guys, don't. Everybody subscribe to Lock Picking Lawyer, okay? Just please do it. Let's see. Robin says, sometimes during these pressers, they remind me of the interviews they do with athletes after the game. Same lines, same vagaries, same same hidden or answers you need to read between the lines. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the reporters there, typically, they know the answer to the question is going to be, we can't comment. But they have to ask the question anyway in order to include it in their article. We asked what weapons were found in the home. Police could not comment. They have to do that. Lynn Taylor says if they wore a smartwatch to sleep, it might tell you when his and her heart stopped. I agree. Can they extract the information from his phone if it's locked? It depends on the phone. So if it is an Apple device that's somewhat modern, very good luck. No. The answer is almost always no. The amount of you can't even use brute force on them, and sometimes it takes years to get into those things. It doesn't even have to be super modern, like past an iPhone 4. It's very, very hard to get in to them. They use very, very good encryption on Google devices because it's an open chipset. It really depends on the implementation of the Android operating system. There are so many different versions of it and used by lots of different manufacturers. Some of them are, again, it's an open operating system, and so it really depends. And sometimes if there is encryption on an Apple device, that would prohibit them from getting in. If it were Apple, they can get in by doing what's called a chip-off procedure, where they actually take the memory device off of the circuit board, place it into a different circuit board, and get into it that way. The answer is it depends. It takes a certain amount of expertise for sure. Refresh here real quick. Mooney says, I really hope these are state charges, not fed. This creep doesn't deserve club fed. It appears to me that they're state charges. I mean, this is a murder charge. I think they just used the feds, which was surprising to me that they used ATF to arrest him. I mean, they could have used probably local cops in the Chicagoland area as well. I don't think this is going to be federal at all. Oh, but Mooney, yeah, now there might be a federal component, right? It depends. Like if he was cyber stalking her, if he was, engaged in some kind of other federal crime. but I don't think that that would supersede murder one. Any lawyers in the crowd, let us know what you think there. Carrots and Other Veg says, Gavin, he did have a second wife. Emily D. Baker found the court filings. He was married weeks after the Monique divorce, then divorced in IIRC. I don't know that. 2022. Okay. Emily D. Baker for the win. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. You guys are... Archangel goes, yeah, after I watched Lock Picking Lawyer, I trust no lock. Yeah, there are a few that are very good. Like, they can still be defeated, but not by the average person. Like, I'm a beginner, very beginner, out of practice lock picker. It's fun to do. But there are some locks that are just like easy, and so many that you would buy from Home Depot or Lowe's or your Walmarts, your Targets, your big box stores that are just embarrassingly easy to open. Liz Karen says, when asked if there had been evidence of stalking, the chief said there had been no activity between the ex and Monique, but didn't say anything about the ex and the husband. Well, she was careful to say that they didn't have any reports. She said, we don't have any reports of that, but there still could be other evidence that there was. But also, Liz Karen, that is a very good point, that maybe there was some animosity between the two men. Possible. LL Coolbean, 4935. Remember, she said they found other weapons on his property. That's why the ATF. Yeah, possibly that's it. Possibly. I think they could have used all sorts of different, partner law enforcement agencies to do it. When she says other weapons, does she mean other guns? Is this a guy that had an artillery? Or is this a guy that also had like brass knuckles and nunchucks? Like, you could say my house has many weapons, but it's really not that. It's not like I have an armory in my basement or anything like that. I'm just the average, Pennsylvanian with firearms. So, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. He crossed state lines and had weapons. Doesn't that make it easier to be a federal case? Yeah. As far as I know, though, I don't think that there are federal murder statutes. If there is, let's look that up. Are there federal murder statutes? Yes, there are federal laws against murder, primarily defined in 18 U.S. Code, subsection 1111, but federal jurisdiction usually applies only when a killing involves specific federal interests, such as crimes on federal property, against federal officials, across state lines, or during other federal crimes like kidnapping or terrorism. Otherwise, murder is prosecuted under state law. Federal murder statutes cover first-degree premeditated felony murder and second-degree murder, with penalties including life imprisonment or the death penalty in certain cases, but state laws handle most everyday homicides. So maybe crossing state lines could qualify. But I think that if this were a federal crime, we would have members of like the U.S. Attorney's Office or something like that announcing the arrest, not the local Columbus PD. I'm pretty confident that this is going to stay on the state level. Cooler by the Lake. I wonder if law enforcement has talked to the second wife. It seems there was another speedy divorce in that marriage as well. She could possibly provide some interesting testimony. I think you're right. Anunya Mouse. Gavin, I believe the chief said they didn't have reports of contact from the ex at that address. Oh, you're right. And that is a important qualifier for sure. Yeah. So, a lot going on in this case, guys. A lot going on in this case. Oh, but I don't want to just move on because I have something else that I want to read to you here. This is a report. Let me bring it up for you. from oxygen.com, quote, she was terrified. Monique Tepe's family says ex threatened her during marriage. Written by Jill Cedarstrom. Monique Tepe's brother-in-law is speaking out about the alleged torment she suffered during her brief marriage to Michael David McKee, an Illinois surgeon accused of gunning down his ex Monique Tepe and her husband Spencer Tepe in their Ohio home had allegedly threatened her life on, quote, multiple occasions, close quote, during their brief marriage, according to her family. Michael David McKee is now facing charges of aggravated murder in connection with the deadly December 30th shootings, which took place just days after Monique and Spencer had celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary. Monique's family said they suspected Michael may have been involved in the shootings, which took place at the couple's as the couple's 2 young children slept, given his alleged past with Monique. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting written sentence. Let me read it this way. Monique's family said they suspected Michael may have been involved in the shootings, given his alleged past with Monique. The shootings took place as the couple's 2 children slept. Quote, she was terrified because he had threatened her life on multiple occasions when they were married, Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misla, told NBC News. Continuing the quote, she wasn't shy about talking to people about traumatic experiences that she had with her ex and just how emotionally abusive he was to her. It affected her to this day. Michael and Monique were married in 2015, but only lived together for a brief time before separating and later divorcing in 2017, citing incompatibility in their divorce records. Misla, who is married to Spencer's sister, added in comments to ABC News that Monique had been a very strong person. Quote, myself and many others were well aware of, the negative impact that he had on her and the abuse that he put her through, the torment that he put her through, he said. She was willing to do anything to get out of there. Misla said he was unaware whether Michael had made any recent threats to her life, telling NBC News, quote, if any of us had known these threats were grounded and a possibility, we would have acted differently, close quote. Police have not commented on the family's allegations of emotional abuse. Oxygen.com reached out to the Winnebago County Public Defender's Office for comment, but received no immediate response. And then it reports on the press conference that we just watched. So the family is speaking out. They're speaking out about this guy who they say Monique said was a man who engaged in DV in their home in their brief marriage. So I think we're probably, the next thing that's going to happen in this case is probably the extradition. And that after the extradition, we'll probably see either a preliminary hearing or a grand jury. And then we go into the great hiatus where we hear nothing for ages and ages and ages. But we want to keep our finger on the pulse of this case. We want to make sure that, and I will say this, the police say that he's the man who did it. For us, for me, I'll speak for me, I will say he is alleged to have done it by police. If he did do it, we want to ensure that he never sees the light of day ever again. And I will be very interested in the evidence that they put together in this case. That's what I have for you guys on the case. Let us, shall we? Let's move on over to 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, in this segment, if you are new here, what I do is I answer 3 questions. Very simple. All you have to do, and they're questions from you. All you have to do is email me, 3questions@gavinfish.com. Spell it out, THREE, questions@gavinfish.com. I don't get all that many. Maybe 1 email a day. Sometimes they have multiple questions in them, which you're welcome to do. Send me 1 question, send me 100. I don't care. But what I will do is I will answer 3 questions from the audience, and I solemnly promise to do my very best to honestly and completely answer your questions. So the first question tonight, push the right button, Gavin, asks, have you ever had to teach one of your adult children tough love? No, no, I haven't. Our children, I think, like many children, turn from being the world's most sweetest? Is that the world's sweetest, most caring, most loving child into a monster on about their 13th birthday. And I joke that usually I think what is happening is aliens are abducting our sweet children and putting in their place doppelgangers that are the worst. And then that process reverses on their 14th birthday. For all three of our adult children, that has been the pattern. When they turn 13, you're just like, dang it, dude. I am having a hard time with you. And we've got a 12-year-old that will be turning 13 this year. So looking forward to that. But no, I haven't had to, I guess, dole out tough love to our adult children. They are all terrific. I don't think that my parents have had to dole out the tough love to me. I think I learned pretty darn early as well not to be a dill hole to my parents. So if you're the one that sent me this and you are going through this, man, I feel for you. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. Parenting is hard. And the older we get, the older they get, it doesn't get any easier. You think that once they're grown. But yeah, here's the thing is that like with our kiddos, I don't know. I don't know how to communicate this, but for example, we have a daughter and son-in-law who live a state away and are chasing their dreams. And we're so happy for them, and we're very proud of them and the choices they're making, how hard they're working, how well they're teaming up with one another. But they are now their own family. We are no longer their primary family. They are to each other their primary family. And so we have, at least I have in my heart, kind of settled into the role of being second fiddle, and I'm completely comfortable with it because they're such good kids, right? I think I might feel differently if they were a little more challenging, but they're awesome. So yeah, sorry I can't help with that. Question number 2, do you believe everything needs closure, or do you think some mysteries are meant to stay unknown? I think the latter. There are some that I would like closure on, especially if we're talking crime, right? I want closure on the Ellen Greenberg case. I don't think that there will ever be justice. I don't think there's justice on any homicide or SA case. I don't think justice exists. I think that we get as close as we possibly can, and it is still light years away from what actual justice would be. But there are other things that I think those mysteries should exist. For example, I like that no matter how much faith you have, and no matter how much you think you know what is going to happen, when you are moments away from taking your last breath, you don't know. You don't know what's about to happen next. And I think that makes life beautiful. I also, of course, that's just my opinion, but I also, for example, to this day, I'm 50 years old, and my wife and I have been married 26 years. We just took a trip to New York earlier this month to visit our children out there, and I learned new things about my wife. I've spent more than half of my life with her, and I learned new things, and I think that is beautiful. So I think that some mysteries are meant to stay mysterious. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, guys. That's why I do this segment before I do headlines, so it gives you a little bit of time. You can decide what you want to, how you would answer these, and I love reading it. Third question: what's a food or snack you loved as a kid that you don't care for at all now? Oh. I don't think one exists that I loved as a kid that I don't care for, that I wouldn't enjoy now. I'm just such a sentimental and nostalgic guy that, when I was a kid, we had candy cigarettes. They came in they looked like cigarette packages. You open them up, you'd pretend you're like hitting it out, and you pull it out, and you would even like put it in your mouth, and you could blow through it and a little bit of dust would come out. You thought you were so cool doing this whole thing. I think that is horrifying. However, I think if I had a candy cigarette right now, I'd probably eat it. I think they were delicious. My favorite things when I was a kid were Swedish Fish, which I really enjoy to this day. You're gonna maybe roll your eyes at this one, but chocolate licorice. I love chocolate licorice. Twizzlers makes a pretty good chocolate licorice here in the United States. It's not super popular, so it's not everywhere, but you can get it. But when I was a kid, there were like candy, like there were like bespoke candy companies that would make these chocolate licorice, and my grandmother would get her hands on it, and she'd have like a stash of it, and she'd bring it out every once in a while. And I loved that. And then the kind of lollipops, suckers that were made out of like the same stuff as Smarties, and they were two colors. It was usually like yellow on top and red on the bottom, and when you licked them, they became more vibrant. But they basically were just a Smartie on a stick, a giant Smartie on a stick. I loved those. So yeah, and then when it comes to like, I want to know what you guys liked as kids, and if you still like them today. But oh, what was the other one? Oh, like, is there anything more delicious than Captain Crunch Berries? I haven't had it in probably 10 years, but it is so crunchy that it lacerates the top of your mouth. So not only do you get that hyper sweetness, but you get a little bit of that iron from your own blood, your bleeding mouth, and somehow it's the world's perfect taste. I don't know. But those are your 3 questions. Go ahead and, well, first of all, send me your questions. I will endeavor my best to answer them. And while you guys are answering those questions in the live chat, let's move on to headlines. True crime headlines. Here we go, guys. We finally got a little bit of an update. I've been searching every day for news on Rebecca Haro, and this came out yesterday. Jake Haro has been transferred to state prison, and Rebecca Haro is due back in court. This brought to us by KESQ, Channel 3, written by Garrett Hoddle. Dateline San Luis Obispo, California. News Channel 3 has confirmed that Jake Mitchell Haro, convicted in the 2025 killing of his 7-month-old Emmanuel. I know that I have it here somewhere. Here we are. There is Emmanuel Haro. Is currently housed at California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. Haro was transferred from Wasco State Prison, where he was first sent following his sentencing last fall. Haro pleaded guilty in October 2025 to charges related to Emmanuel's death and was sentenced to 25 years to life in state prison. His wife and co-defendant, Rebecca Renee Haro, here she is, continues to fight the charges. She remains in custody at the Robert Presley Detention Center in Riverside and is scheduled to appear in court on January 21st, 2026 for a felony settlement conference. The remains of baby Emmanuel have still not been found. So we're about a week out, a little less than a week out until her next court appearance, and we will see what happens there. I'm glad that that Mr. Haro is imprisoned, hopefully for the rest of his life. Next headline for you I got comes from the New York Times. Nick Reiner was in a mental health conservatorship in 2020. Nick Reiner, who's been charged with the murder of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, was placed into a year-long mental health conservatorship in 2020, according to two people with knowledge of the legal arrangement. A clerk with the LA Superior Court said the conservatorship ended in 2021. Stephen Baer, a licensed fiduciary who was appointed as the conservator for Mr. Reiner, said mental illness, quote, is an epidemic that is widely misunderstood, and this is a horrible tragedy, close quote. Both people declined to provide further details about the arrangement, citing confidentiality. The revelation of the conservatorship underscores the severity of the mental health challenges Mr. Reiner faced in recent years, issues that are likely to be central to his legal defense. Talks about Rob Reiner. If Nick Reiner were convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, he would be sentenced to life in prison without parole or the death penalty. He is being represented by a public defender and has not entered a plea. Yeah. Let's see. Let's read this. Mr. Reiner, 32, has a serious mental illness and had struggled in the weeks before his arrest with a change in his medication. Two other people familiar with his health told the New York Times on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive medical information. One of those people said he had been diagnosed at different times with schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder. The medication Mr. Reiner had been taking was effective, the other person said, but side effects led him to switch to a new medication about a month before his parents were killed. LA County Public Defender's Office declined to comment, as did a representative for the district attorney's office. So, yeah, it got so bad he was in a conservatorship. Very interesting. I will be interested to know, when he enters a plea. I'm interested when he enters a plea, and we will see what happens then, I guess. And those, my friends, are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie. Let's see what you guys are saying for the last little bit here. Scotch's mom says, I loved Fig Newtons as a kid. Can't stand them now. Oh, dude. Fig Newtons, that was the consummate travel snack. I think I have not had a Fig Newton in quite a while, but yeah, I still think I like them. So you have changed your palate. Cat Fab. Let's see. I don't know what you said before. Let's see. Cat Fab. Not sure what you bought just for nostalgia. I tried them and wondered why the heck I loved them so much. Yeah. The way my system works, I can't see your previous comments. I wish I could. Let's see. Peace and Love 7824 says, Gavin, watching from Arlington, Virginia. My lovely wife lived in Arlington for a short time. I hope this time you read me. You haven't until now. Well, bang. There you are. Peace and Love 7824. K-Teen VA says, love candy cigarettes. I bought a 24-pack on vacation last year. Wow. That's funny. Oh, that is funny. Oh, you know the other ones that I really loved? They were called, like, you could get a big sugar daddy that was like this giant thing on a stick that when you bit into it, it just like, it locked your teeth together. It was so sticky. And then they had sugar babies too that came in little packets. Those were so good. I loved them. I miss chips when they came with actual chips, not mostly air. Yeah, I do love the humble potato chip. Crime Addiction says, I hope you didn't curse yourself by saying your kids are so sweet. I thought that once. Need wood. Knock on wood. That's funny. Yeah, our kids have been great their whole lives, except that year 13. That one's a tough one. Onion Mouse says, a healthier version of Mameen Crunchy cereal would be Cracklin' Oat Bran. In addition to being crunchy and hard, they are also an awkward shape. You'll get a touch of blood along with a jaw workout. That's my favorite kind. That's my favorite kind. I want to taste the iron in my own blood with my sugary sweet cereal. Welcome from Sierra Madre. Glad you are here. Gavin, watching from the beginning. Regards from Florida. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. And I do mean crisps. Yes, I am Merkin. So yes. So Cat Fab, it's the candy for cigarettes, I guess. Yes. Glitter is forever, says Gavin, listening from work, hiding in the bathroom so I can send a message to say hello to everybody in chat and to you. By the way, Five Below has nostalgia candy if you have a grandpa's candy store. Okay. Well, every once in a while, I find a very good small batch, name brand, national brand chocolate licorice, and I love it. It just takes me back. Guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I can't believe it's Thursday, so we got one more live stream for the week. That will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. I want to invite you to check out my website, gavinfish.com. There is always a link down in the description below. On my site, there are many case files that you can check out, including Ellen Greenberg, which has a huge case file. You can check out my Crime Cod articles, my blog posts. You can find different ways to support me and my lead moderator, Autumn. I deeply appreciate all of my patrons, all of my members, all the people who, like, every once in a while I'll just get a PayPal, and it just means so much to me. Or I'll get a package, I'll get a tip. Thank you very much, and especially those of you who buy Autumn a coffee. Remember that you can reach out to me by clicking on this little icon up here in the upper right-hand corner, the little envelope. All of these get to me. I respond to very few of them because so many of them come in. But if there's something you want me to know or see, that is a good way to do that. And then if you click on the little fishy up there, that will take you to the fish tank where I hang out with 6,000 of my closest friends and talk all things true crime. I invite you to hang out with us if that is your jam. Just go to Facebook and search the fish tank, search Gavin Fish, or the easiest way is just go to gavinfish.com and click on the little fishy icon up in the upper corner. With that, guys, thank you for sticking around to the end. So many of you do, and I deeply appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, I bid you adieu, and I hope you take care of yourselves. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.